Welcome to Echo Tales. Before we start today's story, let's take a few minutes to relax. Find a comfortable position in your bed, lying on your back with your arms resting gently by your sides. Close your eyes and begin to focus on your breath. Take a few slow, deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth, allowing yourself to relax with each exhale. Imagine a wave of relaxation washing over you with each breath. Feel your toes become warm and heavy as they sink into the bed, completely relaxed. Moving up through your feet, ankles, and calves, allowing each muscle to release any tension it may be holding. Visualize any stress or discomfort melting away, leaving you feeling calm and at peace. As you reach your knees, thighs, and hips, imagine a sense of weightlessness spreading through your lower body as if you are floating on a cloud. Let go of any thoughts or worries that may be lingering in your mind, allowing them to drift away like leaves on a gentle breeze. Now, bring your attention to your torso and chest. Feel the rise and fall of your breath as you inhale and exhale deeply, allowing your body to sink even deeper into relaxation with each breath. As you move up through your shoulders, arms, and hands, release any tension you may be holding in these areas, allowing them to become loose and limp. Feel the gentle rhythm of your heartbeat as it lulls you into a state of tranquility. Finally, bring your awareness to your neck, head, and face. Relax the muscles in your neck, allowing your head to feel heavy and supported by the pillow. Soften the muscles in your jaw, letting go of any tension you may be holding there. Now, take a few moments to simply rest in this state of deep relaxation, allowing yourself to fully surrender to the sensation of peace and tranquility. Know that you are safe, supported, and free to let go completely. As you drift off into sleep, allow these feelings of relaxation to carry you into a restful and rejuvenating night's rest. Sweet dreams. Now, we will start today's story.
Little Red Riding Hood.
Once upon a time, there was a dear little girl who was loved by everyone who looked at her, but most of all by her grandmother, and there was nothing that she would not have given to the child. Once, she gave her a little cap of red velvet, which suited her so well that she would never wear anything else. So she was always called Little Red Cap. One day, her mother said to her, "Come, Little Red Cap, here is a piece of cake and a bottle of wine. Take them to your grandmother. She is ill and weak, and they will do her good. Set out before it gets hot, and when you are going, walk nicely and quietly, and do not run off the path, or you may fall and break the bottle, and then your grandmother will get nothing. And when you go into her room, don't forget to say good morning, and don't peep into every corner before you do it." "I will take great care," said Little Red Cap to her mother, and gave her hand on it. The grandmother lived out in the wood, half a league from the village, and just as Little Red Cap entered the wood, a wolf met her. Red Cap did not know what a wicked creature he was, and was not at all afraid of him. "Good day, Little Red Cap," said he. "Thank you kindly, wolf. Whither away so early, Little Red Cap?" "To my grandmother's." "What have you got in your apron?" Cake and wine. Yesterday was baking day, so poor sick grandmother is to have something good to make her stronger. Where does your grandmother live, Little Redcap? A good quarter of a league farther on in the wood. Her house stands under the 3 large oak trees. The nut trees are just below. You surely must know it, replied Little Redcap. The wolf thought to himself, what a tender young creature. What a nice plump mouthful. She will be better to eat than the old woman. I must act craftily so as to catch both. So he walked for a short time by the side of Little Redcap, and then he said, see, Little Redcap, how pretty the flowers are about here. Why do you not look round? I believe, too, that you do not hear how sweetly the little birds are singing. You walk gravely along as if you were going to school, while everything else out here in the wood is merry. Little Redcap raised her eyes, and when she saw the sunbeams dancing here and there through the trees, and pretty flowers growing everywhere, she thought, suppose I take grandmother a fresh nosegay. That would please her too. It is so early in the day that I shall still get there in good time. And so she ran from the path into the wood to look for flowers. And whenever she had picked one, she fancied that she saw a still prettier one farther on, and ran after it, and so got deeper and deeper into the wood. Meanwhile, the wolf ran straight to the grandmother's house and knocked at the door. Who is there? Little Redcap, replied the wolf. She is bringing cake and wine. Open the door. Lift the latch, called out the grandmother. I am too weak and cannot get up. The wolf lifted the latch. The door sprang open, and without saying a word, he went straight to the grandmother's bed and devoured her. Then he put on her clothes, dressed himself in her cap, laid himself in bed, and drew the curtains. Little Redcap, however, had been running about picking flowers, and when she had gathered so many that she could carry no more, she remembered her grandmother and set out on the way to her. She was surprised to find the cottage door standing open, and when she went into the room, she had such a strange feeling that she said to herself, oh dear, how uneasy I feel today, and at other times I like being with grandmother so much. She called out, good morning, but received no answer, so she went to the bed and drew back the curtains. There lay her grandmother, with her cap pulled far over her face, and looking very strange. Oh, grandmother, she said, what big ears you have. The better to hear you with, my child, was the reply. But grandmother, what big eyes you have, she said. The better to see you with, my dear. But grandmother, what large hands you have, the better to hug you with. Oh, but grandmother, what a terrible big mouth you have, the better to eat you with. And scarcely had the wolf said this, than with one bound, he was out of bed and swallowed up Redcap. When the wolf had appeased his appetite, he lay down again in the bed, fell asleep, and began to snore very loud. The huntsman was just passing the house, and thought to himself, how the old woman is snoring. I must just see if she wants anything. So he went into the room, and when he came to the bed, he saw that the wolf was lying in it. Do I find you here, you old sinner? Said he. I have long sought you. Then, just as he was going to fire at him, it occurred to him that the wolf might have devoured the grandmother, and that she might still be saved. So he did not fire, but took a pair of scissors, and began to cut open the stomach of the sleeping wolf.
When he had made 2 snips, he saw the little red app shining, and then he made 2 snips more, and the little girl sprang out, crying, how frightened I had been, how dark it was inside the wolf. And after that the aged grandmother came out alive also, but scarcely able to breathe. Red App, however, quickly fetched great stones with which they filled the wolf's belly, and when he awoke, he wanted to run away, but the stones were so heavy that he collapsed at once, and fell dead. Then all 3 were delighted. The huntsman drew off the wolf's skin and went home with it. The grandmother ate the cake and drank the wine which Red App had brought, and revived. But Red App thought to herself, as long as I live, I will never by myself leave the path to run into the wood, when my mother has forbidden me to do so. It also related that once when Red App was again taking cakes to the old grandmother, another wolf spoke to her and tried to entice her from the path. Red App, however, was on her guard and went straight forward on her way, and told her grandmother that she had met the wolf, and that he had said good morning to her, but with such a wicked look in his eyes, that if they had not been on the public road she was certain he would have eaten her up. Well, said the grandmother, we will shut the door, that he may not come in. Soon afterwards the wolf knocked, and cried, open the door. Grandmother, I am little Red App, and am bringing you some cakes. But they did not speak, or open the door, so the greybeard stole twice or thrice round the house, and at last jumped on the roof, intending to wait until Red App went home in the evening, and then to steal after her and devour her in the darkness. But the grandmother saw what was in his thoughts. In front of the house was a great stone trough. So she said to the child, take the pail. Red App, I made some sausages yesterday, so carry the water in which I boiled them to the trough. Red App carried until the great trough was quite full. Then the smell of the sausages reached the wolf, and he sniffed and peeped down, and at last stretched out his neck so far that he could no longer keep his footing and began to slip, and slipped down from the roof straight into the great trough, and was drowned. But Red App went joyously home, and no one ever did anything to harm her again.
The Frog Prince. One fine evening, a young princess put on her bonnet and cloaks and went out to take a walk by herself in a wood, and when she came to a cool spring of water that rose in the midst of it, she sat herself down to rest a while. Now she had a golden ball in her hand, which was her favorite plaything, and she was always tossing it up into the air and catching it again as it fell. After a time she threw it up so high that she missed catching it as it fell, and the ball bounded away and rolled along upon the ground, till at last it fell down into the spring. The princess looked into the spring after her ball, but it was very deep, so deep that she could not see the bottom of it. Then she began to bewail her loss, and said, Alas! If I could only get my ball again, I would give all my fine clothes and jewels and everything that I have in the world. Whilst she was speaking, a frog put its head out of the water and said, Princess, why do you weep so bitterly? Alas, said she, what can you do for me, you nasty frog? My golden ball has fallen into the spring. The frog said, I want not your pearls and jewels and fine clothes, but if you will love me and let me live with you and eat from off your golden plate and sleep upon your bed, I will bring you your ball again. What nonsense, thought the princess. This silly frog is talking. He can never even get out of the spring to visit me, though he may be able to get my ball for me, and therefore I will tell him he shall have what he asks. So she said to the frog, Well, if you will bring me my ball, I will do all you ask. Then the frog put his head down and dived deep under the water. Then after a little while he came up again with the ball in his mouth and threw it on the edge of the spring. As soon as the young princess saw her ball, she ran to pick it up, and she was so overjoyed to have it in her hand again that she never thought of the frog, but ran home with it as fast as she could. The frog called after her, Stay, princess, and take me with you as you said, but she did not stop to hear a word. The next day, just as the princess had sat down to dinner, she heard a strange noise, tap, tap, plash, plash, as if something was coming up the marble staircase, and soon afterwards there was a gentle knock at the door, and a little voice cried out and said, Open the door, my princess dear, open the door to thy true love here. And mind the words that Mao and I said by the fountain cool in the greenwood shade. Then the princess ran to the door and opened it, and there she saw the frog, whom she had quite forgotten. At this sight she was sadly frightened, and shutting the door as fast as she could came back to her seat. The king, her father, seeing that something had frightened her, asked her what was the matter. There is a nasty frog, said she, at the door, that lifted my ball for me out of the spring this morning. I told him that he should live with me here, thinking that he could never get out of the spring, but there he is at the door, and he wants to come in." And while she was speaking, the frog knocked again at the door and said, "Open the door, my princess dear. Open the door to thy true love here. And mind the words that Mao and I said by the fountain cool in the greenwood shade." Then the king said to the young princess, "As you have given your word, you must keep it, so go and let him in." As she did so, and the frog hopped into the room, and then straight on tap, tap, plash, plash from the bottom of the room to the top, till he came up close to the table where the princess sat. "I pray lift me upon chair," said he to the princess, "and let me sit next to you." As soon as she had done this, the frog said, "Put your plate nearer to me, that I may eat out of it." This she did, and when he had eaten as much as he could, he said, "Now I am tired, carry me upstairs and put me into your bed." And the princess, though very unwilling, took him up in her hand and put him upon the pillow of her own bed, where he slept all night long. As soon as it was light, he jumped up, hopped downstairs, and went out of the house. And now then, thought the princess, "At last he is gone, and I shall be troubled with him no more." But she was mistaken, for when night came again, she heard the same tapping at the door, and the frog came once more and said, "Open the door, my princess dear. Open the door to thy true love here. And mind the words that Mao and I said by the fountain cool in the greenwood shade." And when the princess opened the door, the frog came in and slept upon her pillow as before till the morning broke. And the third night he did the same. But when the princess awoke on the following morning, she was astonished to see, instead of the frog, a handsome prince gazing on her with the most beautiful eyes she had ever seen, and standing at the head of her bed. He told her that he had been enchanted by a spiteful fairy who had changed him into a frog, and that he had been fated so to abide till some princess should take him out of the spring, and let him eat from her plate, and sleep upon her bed for 3 nights. "You," said the prince, "have broken his cruel charm, and now I have nothing to wish for but that you should go with me into my father's kingdom, where I will marry you, and love you as long as you live." The young princess, you may be sure, was not long in saying yes to all this, and as they spoke, a gay coach drove up, with 8 beautiful horses, decked with plumes of feathers and a golden harness, and behind the coach rode the prince's servant, faithful Heinrich, who had bewailed the misfortunes of his dear master during his enchantment so long and so bitterly, that his heart had well nigh burst. They then took leave of the king, and got into the coach with 8 horses, and all set out full of joy and merriment for the prince's kingdom, which they reached safely, and there they lived happily a great many years.